Welcome to the first episode of the Pick and Roll NBA podcast. I'm Nate Sugar,
And I'm Arya Goldstein.
and today we're going to be talking about predictions for the NBA standings. And we're just going to jump right in. At one, I have the Bucks, and I think this is kind of like an obvious pick. Some people go the Nets. I really don't see it. I think the Bucks are easily the one seed. They're the defending champs. Um, their core stayed the same. They still have Middleton. They still have Holiday, and of course, they still have Giannis. And I think Giannis will have an MVP type season, and I think he'll be a candidate for the MVP. Um, I think he was definitely underlooked last year as an MVP candidate. He had 27 points a game off of double-digit rebounds. Doing his defensive thing. But that's probably just because he won the award 2 times in a row before that. And I think that the team is built really well around him, around Giannis. They got solid ball handlers like Holiday and Middleton, and that could also create their own shot. The defense is good. The shooting is good. They have Lopez, so even the center can shoot threes. They have good bench depth. I think they're a well-built team. I really like Bobby Portis, who they added last year. He has a lot of energy. He's a good small ball center. He could shoot threes. He was a good addition. They did lose. They did lose PJ Tucker, which will definitely hurt. Um, but for the most part, the team stayed the same. So let's see who you have.
I put the Chicago Bulls at number one overall seed. I know this take's probably going to surprise a lot of people, but considering that they just signed a couple big name guys like Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan, I think that team will work amazingly together. Zach LaVine should continue to produce top three shooting guard numbers as he has before, which has been debated, but I got to put LaVine at top three. They have amazing scoring. Their defense is there. LaVine's an amazing defender. Vooch can protect the rim. DeRozan has an elite mid-range. They also have some solid depth. Coaching is great. I think this team should surprise a lot of people this year.
Definitely don't have the Bulls close to that high. We'll when we go through the list, you'll see where I have the Bulls, but I really don't see the depth on the team working too well. I think as it's an 82 game season, right? The Bulls have definitely started hot. I think they're 5-1 right now, or 4-1, and so they definitely started hot. But as the season goes on, obviously players start to deter and they get tired. And I think with the lack of depth, bench depth, you'll start to see a real effect on the Bulls. And towards the end of the season, I really think they're going to start to lose some more games than win. And I don't think the big man depth is there. Vucevic is nice, but he's kind of a big guy. I don't think he could be getting that many minutes, especially as the season goes on. He's gonna get tired. I don't think he's the best defender. He'll definitely get his rebounds and block shots, but he's just slow, and he's just a slow guy. And they just lost Patrick Williams for the season, I'm pretty sure, and I think that'll take a big effect on them. So I don't think the Bulls. I really don't. I really disagree with that Bulls take. But so at number two, I have the Miami Heat, and I think it's definitely a shocker to most people that I don't have the Nets here. And I just think that the Heat are going to surprise a lot of people. I love the Kyle Lowry signing, and they stole PJ Tucker from Milwaukee, and I really think Kyle Lowry, he's definitely underperformed right now, but he's going to get in his groove. He's old. He's looking kind of slow because of his age, but he's a veteran guy. He hasn't really he's aged well so far in terms of how it affects him playing. So I don't think that this struggle is permanent. And I think he's definitely gonna start producing numbers that we like to see. Um, Hero is looking like a 6 man of the year candidate. Depth is definitely gonna be a struggle for them, but I mean, this is a fairly young team. It's an energetic team. Bam I think Bam's gonna be defensive player of the year. It's maybe a hot take. I don't know. I think he will. Butler I think they're a hungry team just because of how they underperformed last year. They went from being in the finals to going to the 6th seed and getting swept by the Bucks, who were the eventual champions. I just think they're a hungry team this year. Maybe I don't know how I think they're going to produce in the postseason, but I definitely think they're going to try to prove themselves in the regular season.
Okay, that's a respectable take. At two, I'm going to put the Bucks, just as you had number one. A lot of good reasons stated in yours. Of course, Giannis coming off the MVP year. Middleton putting up all-star caliber numbers. Love the Bobby Portis signing, as you mentioned. Team that really stretches the floor in a really great way, which allows Giannis to obviously do his thing, get to the rim. The only thing I'd love to see from Giannis is developing a really solid jump shot. I feel like once he has that, it takes him to a whole new tier of play.
I
But
think he's improving his jump shot. I think he is. He's been taking a
I
lot more
agree he's
threes
improving
recently.
it, but I think he really needs to improve it enough where defenders will really respect him and start to close out when he either does a shot fake or actually shoots the ball.
Uh-huh.
So I think, yeah,
All right. Well, at three, as you would probably expect, I had the Nets. Um, I don't see. I could definitely see them being higher. I don't know what's going on with Kyrie. I don't think anyone does. No one really knows what's going on in Kyrie's head. I don't know. A lot of stuff going on with Kyrie. They looked kind of slow to start the season, right? There's no really young spark on that team. I'm excited for Cam Thomas if he gets playing time, but they don't play him. So there are a bunch of older guys, I guess, off the bench as well. I think the season being long will definitely affect them, even though their depth is good, just because, like Griffin and Durant and Harden. I mean, Durant and Harden aren't that old, but they're definitely getting up there in age to be some of the younger guys getting minutes. Um, they looked they look like they're slacking on defense. They don't really want to try on defense. They don't have a defensive leader on the team. The center position is iffy. I don't like Claxton. They don't have DeAndre Jordan anymore. I don't like what they have with the center position. Uh, they're very lazy on defense. But the reason I still think they're the Nets. They have KD, they have Harden, and whenever Kyrie comes back, they're gonna do their thing. But I definitely think they're also not so focused on the regular season as much as they are on the postseason. Because I think that's also part of the reason why they don't. When you watch the Nets games, it doesn't look like they're trying 100 as hard as the other teams are to win that game. It just looks like they're just playing a game. But yeah, I have the Nets at three. I could definitely see them being higher, but I could even see them being lower.
I'm gonna agree with that take. I have the Nets at the 3 seed. I'd even stretch them out. They could even be as low as the 5 seed, maybe even the 7 seed. But I think I'll leave them at the 3 seed only because KD is obviously undebatably the best at his position. I think now Harden top tier produces all-star numbers every year consistently. Kevin Durant's best scorer in the league. Um, I agree they don't really have the best defensive team. I think the fact that DeAndre Jordan isn't playing anymore, um, that really hurt them. They don't really have a strong center that they can rely on the defensive side. I think a young spark, like you said, would also really help that team. They need some of the older guys really need that boost, that kick in to make them, I guess, feel more energized. I think the Nets do understand that concept of really trying hard in the regular season, as it does affect their seeding in the postseason. But I don't think they're too concerned about it because I think ultimately their mentality is they know for sure that they're going to make that postseason. It's a question about conserving their guys, um, and making sure they're all right for the postseason. Also, same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie's wild, man. I don't really know what's happening with him. The
Yeah,
whole vaccine thing might not play a home game for the rest of the season.
it's crazy.
But hopefully he can come back and come to his senses.
I
So that's
100%
that.
agree. And at four, I have the 76ers. There's definitely mixed
Ooh,
opinions around the 76ers. Some people still have them being a high seed. Some people definitely have them low seed. Definitely, obviously, main topic about the Sixers is no Simmons, right? What will they do with Simmons? Are they going to trade him? Is he just going to sit on the team
I don't
and just
really
get
think he has
fined
much
every
trade
game?
value now.
Yeah, I
Honestly, he's
agree.
become he's become a team cancer. I think
He
no team
has.
really wants him.
He
But continue.
has. Um, he has become a cancer almost to the team, and it's just when will they trade him? Will they trade him? Is he just going to sit on the team and get fined every game? Like it's kind of crazy. it's definitely a Simmons problem. Definitely not something to do with the team. But I mean, Embiid will be Embiid. He's gonna put up MVP type numbers like he did last year. Honestly, he was my front runner to win MVP before he had that big injury. And I mean, he had that big injury and they were still the number 1 seed. They definitely struggled without Embiid, but they were still the 1 seed at the end of the year without Embiid for a lot of it. And I think I have very high hopes for Embiid. Their defense is definitely going to take a drop off, as Simmons was the candidate for defensive player of the year last year. So missing him is definitely going to be big. But if they trade him, like there was a offer that the Pacers gave this offseason that the Sixers declined for Brogdon. And I think right now, I don't even know if the Pacers would offer that. Pacers are a weird team right now. But like if they could get that trade off at the trade deadline, if they get Brogdon for Simmons, like I think he's definitely even a better fit than on the team than Simmons is, just because of the ability to stretch the floor. And I think the reason I still think the Sixers will produce well is because Simmons was kind of a cancer to Embiid, because Embiid likes to work in the post, likes to work inside. That's where most of his points will come from, in the paint. And when you have Simmons on the court at the same time, you can just have a second defender on Embiid, and he kind of just gets falls into these double teams very often. I love the Andre Drummond signing. I think he'll be a 6 man of the year type of guy just because of who he is. And I've seen a lot of comparisons to what's the difference between him and Simmons, because Drummond loves to make these flashy passes. Obviously, there's a difference.
Obviously.
Drummond isn't an all-star caliber guy like he used to be. Their shooting is good. I have really high hopes for Tyrese Maxey now that he's the starting point guard with Simmons not playing. And I think Maxey is almost a better fit than Simmons. Obviously not close to as good as a player, but he's almost a better fit with Embiid than Simmons is, just because he's able to space the floor and he still has the passing ability and he's a scorer and he's that guy that could handle the ball. I really think we're going to have a breakout year from Tyrese Maxey here. They got good shooters. They added Andre Drummond. I really like the team. It's just that there is a lack of star power. Tobias Harris, I don't think there's going to be much improvement from what he had last year. Simmons it's not like Simmons was taking away a lot of points or shots. He wasn't shooting much. So there's not going to be more points coming from Tobias Harris, I think, this year. But I definitely have high hopes for Embiid and high hopes for Tyrese Maxey.
Honestly, you bring good points. I just can't see the Sixers doing very well at all this year.
Really?
Just because of Simmons himself, just the effect, the total toll he's had on the team. I think it downgraded the feeling towards the organization of a bunch of the guys. As you saw Embiid's statement on Simmons, he said, "I don't really care about that man anymore."
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really had a detrimental effect to the team. But at my 4, I have the Heat. It shouldn't be much of a surprise to many people. Jimmy Butler should continue to produce really, really good numbers. Bam's going to be Bam. Bam's been having 20 points per game plus, bunch of rebounds, decent number of assists for a center type guy.
Yeah.
Hero could be the 6 man of the year. I see him maybe becoming a 20 point per game scorer. Duncan Robinson, amazing shooter. They can stretch the floor well. I think they're good. This team's going to be a tough team for teams to beat going forward.
I forgot to even mention Duncan when I was talking about the Heat. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
He's going to be so good.
He's going to be amazing. They don't have that type of team like the Sixers have that defenders can just help in the paint and just stay there like they used to do on Simmons. They really have to close out and guard tightly each one of those guys, so it's going to be easy for guys like Bam and guys like Jimmy to drive into the paint. Jimmy's been clutch in many, many situations.
Yeah,
I see them doing well in the playoffs, possibly making the conference finals. So at the 4, I have the Heat.
Mm-hmm. I like the Heat respect. I've definitely seen a lot of disrespect because of the way Lowry is playing, especially. I think a lot of people are starting to take back what they think about the Heat, but I think it's a temporary slump,
Yeah, agreed.
But anyway, at 5, I have the Atlanta Hawks. And as a Knicks fan, it's hard to admit that they're going to be good again this year, even above the Knicks, in my opinion. But, my biases aside, I have to look at, the actual stats and the players and teams themselves and just put my biases aside. But Trey is Trey Young. We saw what he could do in the playoffs last year. How unguardable his pick and roll is with Clint Capella. They got John Collins. They have Herder. They have a bunch of shooters, especially at the guard spots. And I really like the team this year. I just think that I love Okongwu this year. I really think he's going to have not like a breakout year because just his minutes are going to be so limited with, Clint Capella being a top 10 center and all. But I really like Okongwu this year to improve his game. I love the wings with Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter and Danilo Gallinari and Herder and Bogdanovich. They're all shooters and Hunter especially and Reddish are fantastic defenders. And I really love Hunter's game. I think he's going to have a big step up this year. It's just, I don't think the Hawks are better. I've seen some people have them as like the 2 seed and stuff like that, really expecting a big year from them. But I just see them having a similar regular season to last year, where they're a 5 seed team, which is what they were last year. And because I think as the season goes on, people are going to start to sort of figure out how to guard this Trey Young pick and roll with Capella. I mean, like, I don't see how he can do it 82 games and no one can figure out how to guard it. I definitely think there's gonna be there's gonna be one team that figures out how to guard him, and everyone's gonna watch that film, and all the coaches are gonna start teaching. Like, when we play Trey Young, this is how you guard him. I don't know how they're gonna figure it out, but I definitely think there's no way he can just go unguardable for the next 82 games. And if he can, then I definitely could see them being as like a 2 seed or 1 seed. But I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I also have the Hawks at the 5 spot. Obviously Trey Young is amazing. Even with this new rule of the new fouling rule,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to phase
Mm-hmm.
Trey at all. As in
Yeah.
the first as in the first couple of games, he's had almost 30 points and almost 10 assists.
Yep.
This team has amazing depth filled with young guys. Capella is an amazing rim protector.
Mm-hmm.
John Collins is super athletic. Reddish, Herder, all good defenders. Herder can honestly fill in for a lot of the guys. I think he's elite, really underrated. You saw what they did to the Knicks last year.
Yeah.
Aside from your personal feelings, you got to admit, no one could guard Trey Young. And I think he's really going to carry the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
I have him as high. They could even be higher, as high as the 3 seed in my eyes. So, yeah, that's my take on the Hawks.
Yeah, I could see that maybe being the 3 seed, but as I said, I think a major factor is that people are going to start to figure out their offense. I don't think it has much variety to the offense, but I mean, they're a creative team. Their coach has, since they switched the coaches, they've definitely been better. So I definitely could see a world with a 3 seed, but realistically, I have them as the 5 seed, and at 6, I have the Celtics. I mean,
Ooh.
their star wings, Tatum and Brown, are going to be Tatum and Brown. We saw what Brown did in the opening game against the Knicks, where they eventually end up losing. But those players can produce points. Tatum and Brown, they could really put up points. And I think they did lose Kemba, which will affect them. But I don't think Kemba was that much of a help last year. He was injured a lot of the time, and when he played, he wasn't the Kemba that we knew,
Yeah, for sure.
And I think also people are forgetting that Jaylen Brown was injured for like the second half of the year, and that obviously has a big effect on them, especially when Kemba's injured and not even playing like a number 2 option or like he did in Charlotte. So I think Brown being injured last year definitely affected their record to put them as the 7 seed. They added Horford. It's Horford. He's not what he used to be like when he was in Atlanta, but
Still elite, though. Definitely
still he's
elite.
still a good center, And they have Robert
Yeah.
Williams. The depth is there. I love the depth. Marcus Smart, Pritchard, Horford. They have Neesmith, who really hasn't done much in his young career, but I mean, shooters nowadays, if you can shoot the 3, you're gonna get decent minutes. You're gonna get decent points. So I think if once they start to figure out how to use Aaron Neesmith properly, he could start to be a very effective 3-point shooter for them. They just added Josh Richardson, great defender. His scoring is kind of I don't know how to explain his scoring. Like, you'd think he would be a 3-and-D guy, giving. His handle isn't there really, but he's not a 3-and-D guy. His three isn't all it. But he's an interesting offensive game, but you got to love the defense there. I think that he definitely helps. It's nice to have another defender along with Marcus Smart, instead of just relying all the perimeter defense on Marcus Smart. You have other guys. Now they have other guys. I think Schroeder is definitely an improvement on defense than Kemba is. He's not the biggest guy, but he's he's aggressive, I think their depth is good and all. I don't love the Brown Tatum duo. I'm going to be honest. I don't see this being the long-term answer for the Celtics. I think
Wow. I'd really disagree with that. Brown and Tatum are going to be elite.
I really don't.
Just elite guys.
I don't
25 points a night each. I definitely see that in the near future. I think either one of them could win the MVP on any given year.
Wow.
That's me.
I just don't think the duo will work. I think personally, Brown, I wouldn't say obviously you need to trade him. I say you definitely need to keep both these guys on the team. I think Tatum is the key player. I don't want to hear any Jaylen Brown's the number one guy. We had this talk last year. Everybody was talking beginning of the year last year. Jaylen Brown, he's better than Tatum. You see what the points he's putting up? Tatum, second half of the year, shuts everyone up. He shuts everyone up, especially in the playoffs.
Because Jaylen Brown was injured, remember that?
I know, but especially in the playoffs.
He didn't really have the chance. In the playoffs, yeah.
In the playoffs, 50 points on Durant.
It's true. We'll see what Brown has coming up. But at my number 6, I got the Knicks. I know you'll love to hear that.
I do.
Knicks is his team. But Randall's definitely playing at that all-star caliber level.
Is.
But the reason I really love this team, I really think it'll do so well, is because they really have so much depth. Robinson, elite, and the pick and roll on defense. He can do it all. And also, there's no one guy on that Knicks team that has to get elite numbers every night. As you saw a couple of nights ago, Randall didn't need to score that much because RJ had 35.
RJ, yeah.
You never know. You never know who's going to do amazing. And that's what's great about this team. There's no one guy who needs to show out every night. Like in that first game, Fournier, amazing. He had 30 points, bunch of threes. This team really spaces the floor well. And yeah, I think this team will be a really tough team to beat, electric team to watch. And yeah, it's New York, baby.
It's New York, baby. That's what I like to hear. At 7, I had the Knicks. You just mentioned them at your 6th seed. I have them 7. They're the 1 seed right now in the East. I would love for that to continue, but I don't think it will. And I look at the free agency signings, Kemba and Fournier, and especially Fournier. He's produced. He in the first game, he looked like a superstar. But I just say why in terms of long term. Why give him 4 years? In terms of long term. And obviously, we're talking about right now and what we think they'll do this season. And I think with all the talent, they're going to be very, very good. But as a Knicks fan, I have to look at the long term also. I don't like the signing personally in terms of long term. But because I think they're kind of trying to rush the process here a little bit. They're a young team relatively with all their core players. Like Randall is still relatively young. RJ is young. Toppin quickly. And I just say why sign these older guys to reduce the minutes or the production even from your younger guys. And on any given night, though, the Knicks any player can put up a big night because they're scoring. They have so many scorers. Randall, Fournier, RJ, Kemba, Rose, Burks, quickly. Those are all not pass first guys. Those are all guys that are going, oh, I have the ball. I'm looking to score. So that leaves one of them on any given night can have it just going for them. Like last night we saw it was Barrett, and game 1 we saw it was Fournier. Any guy can have their role, but I think the stats are going to be very inconsistent from every player on the Knicks besides really Randall and Barrett. I think the third option. I think Rose, Fournier, quickly, Kemba. They're all going to have similar stat lines. But when you in terms at the end of the season, how many points they're putting up a game. But I think in terms of every single, if you look at a 10-game stretch from Kemba, I think it's going to be the points are going to be fluctuating in numbers. I think you're going to see some 9-point games. You're going to see some 25-point games just because there's so many options on this team. And that's where I come to the point where I don't like how the roster is constructed. I don't like just having a bunch of scorers on one team. You need those passers. You need those those passers on the team, really.
Facilitators, those Chris Paul
Facilitators,
guys.
yeah. You don't just need, or you need a guy that could just sit on the wing and when he gets the ball, he shoots the three instead of like when he gets the ball, like Fournier, when he gets the ball on the wing, he's doing all these moves and now it's his time to shoot. Like you need guys that could
Yeah,
just sit on the wing and let the other guys go to work. Like, so we could I'd rather that than how the roster is constructed now with a bunch of shot first guys. But overall, like the talent, it's just so good. The talent, there's so many talented
yeah,
guys on the team. I love
it is a
Robinson. I love
talented team.
Noel, who's injured. I love Taj, who's getting nice minutes now that Noel is not playing. But I would have loved to see the roster maybe constructed a bit better. But I think it's mainly due to because they're kind of trying to rush it here, like what they have going. I think they shouldn't have signed these guys. Obviously, I think you have to sign Kemba, right? Because of the of just the deal you could get with Kemba with $8 million a year. You had to take that deal. But I don't like the Fournier signing, even with how good he's playing.
Okay, that's a good take. I like all that depth on the Knicks. We have them in similar spots. But right now at my 7, I have the Boston Celtics. Tatum and Brown, they're going to be lethal. Maybe not this year. They still need maybe a few more years to develop into the stardom role that they were destined to have. They have an amazing supporting cast. Guys like Marcus Smart. The Celtics are going to be really good this year. As long as they're not affected much by injuries. Like Brown was last year.
Yeah.
If they can both stay healthy for the regular season, I can see them going up to maybe in the 4th seed. But I definitely see one of those guys getting injured. Tatum and Brown can obviously score the ball at an elite level. Depending on what position you have Tatum at, I think he's top 3 in the power forward category. Brown is definitely top 5 small forward. Obviously, they can both score. Both can shoot the ball. Both are pretty athletic. Together, I think they should create some amazing numbers. And I think they're going to come out of the strong 7 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I agree. I have them at 6, but I mean, very similar spots. At 8, I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't mentioned your 1 seed yet, and now I will. The Chicago Bulls.
I was really surprised. I think they're definitely top 5 undisputed. Undisputed.
Yeah. With how well they're playing right now, it seems like you have to have them top 5, but no, I have them at 8. And I honestly was thinking about putting them at 9, but then I just said, no, I can't do that. So I have them at 8. They're obviously a very talented team. LaVine, Vucevic, Lonzo, DeMar. It's a very talented big 4 right there you got. And I would argue that is a big 4. Are you going to include Lonzo as a big 4, or is it just going to be a big 3? I don't know. DeMar had like 30 points last night. I saw he was crossing up the Jazz players. And one of my big arguments, though, with why the Bulls are so successful to start the season is because they've been playing bad teams. Obviously, they just beat the Jazz last night. But, I mean, they played the Pistons twice that didn't even have Cade. They played the Pelicans without Zion. And they played the Raptors without Siakam. That was their first 4 wins. Then they lost to the Knicks, and now they just beat the Jazz. But, I mean, those first 4 wins, those are against – I mean, the Pelicans without Zion, that's a bad team. And I mean the Pistons without Cade, that's a bad team. And I mean the Raptors.
But it's really tough to argue that those guys seem like they're working really well together.
They are. The chemistry is definitely there. I think Chicago, besides the New York Knicks fan base, I think Chicago might be looking like they're the second best fan base. Just like watching there was this game, I guess I forget who they were playing, where Caruso had this behind the back pass. I think it was the Knicks. It was the Knicks behind the back pass to LaVine.
It's like the Showtime Lakers part 2, bro.
Showtime. You got to calm down there. You got to calm down there. But
I see it.
Okay, I don't know about that, but I just think the depth is a problem. Williams is injured. Patrick Williams injured. I really like him, even though he's had a disappointing start to his season, to his career, I guess. But I mean, it was kind of a surprising pick when they took him at 4. Not this last year, but I don't like the bench. Javonte Green, Troy Brown, Kobe White's not playing right now because of his injury. Derrick Jones is coming off the bench. Ayo is coming off the bench. I don't even think they have like a backup center. They don't. really that's getting minutes. They have Tony Bradley, but I mean, like, it's Tony Bradley. Like, who
Tony
is that?
Bradley. Who's
You
Tony
know,
Bradley?
their depth isn't there, and I think over the course of 82 games, without any depth, really, anybody who come off the bench besides Caruso, that is like a notable name. Once Kobe White comes back, that'll obviously help. But I don't know. I
Obviously.
don't see much production with Kobe White just because like the scoring I don't think will be there just because Levine, DeMar, Vucevic, that takes a lot of points away from or a lot of shots attempts away from the other players. But, I'm not too high on Chicago. I think the talent is there. I just don't think the depth is there. I think there's going to have defensive troubles inside. I think Vucevic is a good defender, but I don't know. I think the shooting is going to have some struggling on the shooting end. DeMar's not a shooter. Lonzo's not a shooter. Vucevic is a good shooter for a big man. Levine's obviously lights out, but I mean, besides that, who's really a good shooter? You're going to call Caruso your sharpshooter? You're going to call Javante Green your sharpshooter? You're going to call Derek
I don't
Jones your
really think that team
sharpshooter?
requires. I don't really think that team requires at all like that designated sharpshooter, like that Duncan Robinson guy. I think that they're all decent enough shooters that they need to be respected, which opens up either the post game for Vucevic or just driving in for Levine.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't really think that team needs that lights out shooter. That's why I have them so high.
I guess I could see that. I could definitely see a world where they're top five, just because of the pure talent. But I definitely think they're going to be struggling in terms of depth. Just as the season goes on, you're just going to see them start to lose more and more games. And yeah, I'm
Mm.
just not too high. I'm definitely not as high on the Bulls as you are.
So for you at that 8 spot, the Bulls, really iffy pick in my eyes. But for me, I'm going to go with the Charlotte Hornets at
Ooh,
number 8 seed. I think
Charlotte.
LaMelo Ball is going to really surprise a lot of people this year. I think he's going to turn into a top 5 point guard. That amazing passing ability. He throws full court passes nightly, turn into layups.
Hmm.
Flashy guy to watch. Really, this team has a lot of young talent. Um, Guys like Hayward and Miles Bridges, they should be an amazing supporting cast for him. I think those three could really work well together. Hopefully, we get to see Hayward return to his Utah Jazz self. Although I really
Hmm.
doubt that will happen, but
Yeah.
we always have hopes.
Uh-huh.
He's still going to really produce well. I think he's going to average about 20 a night. Hopefully, 7 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
Um, Miles Bridges, obviously, fantastic athlete.
I think it's
Run the pick
25
and
points a
roll.
game right now.
Yeah, really. He can really score the ball well. He can run pick and roll really well with LaMelo. LaMelo can shoot the ball. He has amazing moves. Shoot the mid range. He can drive in pretty well. And really, I think that passing ability is really going to carry this team to that 8 spot. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah, I
up
mean,
up to you, Nate.
I mean, they're just playing fantastic basketball right now. Like uh, Miles Bridges looking like he's about to run away with the Most Improved Player award. And I mean, they don't even have Rozier in right now. He's injured, so I mean, I can't even imagine what they're gonna do when he even comes back. And that's where I get to my nine seed where I had the Charlotte Hornets. You made a bunch of good points. Lamelo's improving. Looks like a lot of his rookie flaws are kind of fading away. They have Book Knight from UConn, who I love. Fantastic scorer. He's going to be nice off for them off the bench. Miles Bridges looking like an all-star type of player. Obviously, I don't think 25 points a game will continue, but I could definitely see him averaging 20 points when the season is done and him being the most improved player. They still have PJ Washington. He's amazing. They fixed their center problem by signing Mason Plumlee from the Pistons. They picked up Kelly Oubre. Will he do much? I don't think so, but
I doubt it.
if there injuries come to this team, I think he's a nice guy to just have. Hayward, I agree 100%. I think Hayward's he's gonna be good. He was good last year. He's solid passing it. He's solid rebounding. He's a lights out 3-point shooter. The team's constructed really well. The bench, they have a good bench. The Rozier, when he comes back, he's just gonna be fantastic for them. LaMelo, I just think LaMelo will continue to dominate his flashy passes, everything he has. And I think even if like some guys that they don't get minutes right now, like Kai Jones from Texas, he's a solid center. I think like if one of their big man goes down and you need somebody to play, Kai Jones could be a young rookie that could surprise people if they need to play him, right? Like I think even the guys that aren't getting minutes on this team right now, if they need to get minutes, I'd be comfortable giving these guys minutes. I think a, they're a team with a lot of depth. The shooting is good. I do see some potential defensive struggles with no real defensive kind of guy. I think Mason Plumlee is definitely a guy that seems to get dunked on a lot. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like every time I'm watching a highlight reel from last year of somebody getting dunked on, it's always Mason Plumlee. But uh, I do see some defensive issues with this team, but this team's off to a hot start, and they're definitely a very flashy team, and they're very fun to watch.
Okay, I agree. They are a nice team to watch. For me, at my 9th spot, I have your Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh,
I really don't see why you
9.
rank them so high. Like, they really don't deserve that spot. Ben Simmons has been like a real cancer for the organization, taking a toll on many players. But although Ben deserves a lot of hate, you can't really argue that he wasn't a major part of the Sixers' playoff runs. Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's been scoring 20 a night, can really rebound the ball. Is really a matchup nightmare for pretty much anyone that plays him because it's tough. Do you put the point guard on him? Do you put the center on him because the point guard can't guard him because of his size? Ben is 6'11", practically a 7-foot point guard with good passing skills.
Yeah.
That's the only thing though. Without him, I think he was a real anchor to this team, and I think Maxey, he really won't be able to fill his role so well, but obviously Embiid will still produce. So I think Embiid alone, along with the supporting cast like Tobias Harris and other guys, I think that alone should carry them to the 9th seed, but I really don't see them going as far as they have before in the playoffs these next years.
Yeah. I completely disagree. I don't know how you could have them at 9. I mean, they were the 1 seed last year. I think Simmons obviously has an effect on their record, but I don't see how he can have an effect on the record by 8 spots. But you know,
We'll see.
I don't think the six. I said what I already said about the Sixers. I have high hopes for the team. I just really don't understand how you could have them being so low. At 10, I have the Pacers, and I mean, in the past, I mean, a few years ago, they've been really good. 5, 6 seed around there. But last year they took a big step down, partially I think because LeVert didn't play. They had a lot of injuries. Brogdon was injured. Miles Turner was injured for like the second half of the year. But the talent's there. I just don't think they made any improvements to the team. Obviously, all these guys coming back off their injuries will help. But like they don't. Sabonis is a nice star guy. He's definitely not a number 1 option on a championship team. Maybe not even a number 2 option. Probably not. Defensively, they're a good team. Darte is leading the all rookies in points per game. He's looking like a very good pick. I mean, it shocked me. I was not expecting that pick.
I wasn't expecting that either.
At 13, very
I gotta be
shocking
honest.
pick. Senior, but it's kind of a classic. What you would expect from a Pacers team. Taking a senior 24-year-old rookie. That's such like a Pacers pick. I think
Yeah.
the only teams to take
It
a
is a Pacers pick.
24-year-old rookie and like the teams that I see taking a 24-year-old rookie are the Pacers and
Knicks.
the Spurs. Well, I mean, the top is not 24, but I see the Pacers and the Spurs are such teams.
The Knicks have made some very questionable picks in the past.
Yeah. But let's get back on topic. The Pacers, Turner a couple nights ago had like 40 points and 10 rebounds and however many blocks he gets, he's going to get his blocks. They're a very good team. The bench's depth is there. I could see some shooting struggles potentially. Darte's definitely a lights out 3-point shooter, but like off the bench, Jeremy Lamb, he's good. Holiday, I don't know. McConnell, no. Torrey Craig, I guess he could shoot. Brissett, yeah. I don't know. It's just like iffy. It's like, are they a lights out shooter? I don't know. I also think they're going to probably, if I were them, I would trade TJ Warren by the deadline. I think he's kind of like a cancer to this team almost. He just like takes bad shots.
Yeah.
He takes bad shots and misses them. Darte, with how good Darte's playing, when like I wouldn't be surprised if when Warren comes back from this injury, if Warren if he doesn't start, yeah. But they're just like an average team, they're like middle of the pack. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this year, Sabonis isn't on this team anymore. Sabonis and Brogdon aren't even on this team anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if Sabonis and Brogdon aren't on this team next year. Like I could see them completely rebuilding and going into complete rebuild mode.
I don't like that. I really don't like that.
I don't know.
Sabonis and Brogdon have both provided a lot for this team.
They have, but I wouldn't be
Um,
I wouldn't be shocked if both of them aren't on the team
they
next year, or at least one
they,
of
they
them.
could get really good value. Like I could see them getting a guy, maybe a guy like
Like
Dame.
Simmons.
I don't
I could see them trading
definitely
for
not.
Simmons, going younger, and really starting
Simmons
a
really has no
rebuild.
positive effect to the team than what they already have now. Sabonis and Brogdon
Well,
have
that's
both
what I'm
been
saying. I don't know if they're the path for them long term in the next few years is to try to get better. I think it's actually to try to get worse and then find a real star player,
rebuild.
rebuild. Yeah,
Okay, I can see that. They've Brogdon and Sabonis have both been
I mean
almost
Sabonis.
20 point per game
Yeah, I mean
scorers
Sabonis
for
is
the
going to put
past
up his
few
all
years
star
now.
numbers. With the assists that he gets as a big
But
man, the rebounds and the points, it's all there
I
for
can definitely
Sabonis.
see those two guys also getting traded. They can get some really good value
Yeah,
out of that. But for me,
yeah.
at my 10th spot, I have the Washington Wizards.
Ooh, the Wizards.
Um, the Wizards have been a mediocre team for quite a while now. But if you think
Maybe
about it,
even lower than mediocre.
Bradley Beal's leading the NBA in scoring last year.
Yeah,
That's really ridiculous when you think about it. He's had to carry that team, especially while having Westbrook.
yeah.
Last year, Westbrook's definitely been a cancer to the team.
Mm.
While he was on it, I think it hurt their overall seeding. Um, but Beal, I think Beal can really carry the team this year.
Hmm.
Obviously, he can really score the ball well. If he really wants to, he can also pass. But it's like James Harden in Houston. He didn't really have people to pass to
Hmm.
that he thought could really change the game. But I think now we should start to see him pass the ball a bit more because they have guys like Thomas Bryant and Spencer Dinwiddie. I think those guys can really make their mark on this team.
Hmm.
So I think we could definitely see the Wizards being the 10th seed in the East, making the play-in tournament, just because of Beal himself.
Uh,
That's the main reason.
yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
Beal's gonna do Beal stuff, but I don't see the Wizards being good this year. Honestly, like I could see them being 13th seed. Honestly, just because depth is there. I've been talking about depth a lot
depth is there
this
for
episode.
sure.
They drafted sharpshooter Corey Kispert from Gonzaga. They have Denny Avdia, the Israeli. They have
Israeli.
Davis Bertans. They have Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Caldwell Pope, Dimwitty, uh,
Yeah, they have a lot of guys. They're
Thomas
like the
Bryant,
Knicks.
Rui Hachimura. They have a lot of guys, and their teams. I don't know. It's just like when I read these names, that's not a team that I would like. I could if you told me last year that this is a group of guys that are going to be on the same team. It's like what Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma are going to be on the same team as Corey Kispert and Spencer Dinwiddie with Denny Avdia and Thomas Bryant and Rui Hachimura. It just
I
seems
really
like
think
such a
that's a
weird
good
mix of
enough.
guys. But I also don't think
Mm,
the defense is going to be there. Like last year, they had defensive struggles. I think they should see shooting struggles. I mean, I've said this before. Like Kispert's a nice, very good shooter, but they're not playing him a lot. Beal is obviously a great shooter, but I definitely see a defense issue. I love Kispert, but I just don't think they play him enough. And I think playing Kispert more could be a solution to the defense and shooting issue they have, as he's such an elite defender and such an elite shooter. But losing Westbrook, he's still he puts up numbers and he helps win sometimes. I don't know.
sometimes
I
that
can't really tell, if he helps them win or if he helps them lose. But they're a very like team that I could see being good, but I could see them being really bad. I have to see how the season goes on because this is not a group of guys that I would see. I don't know how I could see how I see these group of guys playing together. It's such a weird mix of players, I think.
it is a really odd mix. I just think that supporting cast with Dinwiddie, Bryant, Kuzma, Harrell, I think that should be enough to carry them. Obviously, because of Bradley Beal, to carry them to that play-in tournament.
Hmm.
So yeah,
All right, I think that wraps it up. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you're here in our next episode where we will do the Western Conference.